enter a whole new era of education in the state of New York. Distraction-free. That's what we fought for, that we successfully secured, and as a result, millions of children across the state of New York will emerge more happier, more well-adjusted, and more educated because we are taking the lead in ensuring that cell phones are not in their hands all throughout the day as they are right now, and our children will finally have a chance to be children again. So we're declaring the end of phone FOMO here in the state of New York because you won't know what you're missing out on, but everybody else is missing out as well, so it doesn't really matter. So I want to introduce also Melinda Person, who's been at my side as we fought hard for this to occur. It was really breaking down a lot of barriers because institutionally people are saying, why is Albany telling us what to do in our school district? A lot of parents were concerned, and certainly we heard from a lot of young people as well. But what I've learned in this conversation with school superintendents from around the region, one of which has already implemented through the summer school, the Albany School District, that the children who are the most resistant, the teenagers, are now the greatest champions because they see in themselves a different person. They know it's a different social environment that we've now created from what had been there previously. So I'm really proud of that, and if you have any questions on that, we'll take those first.
On topics, guys? Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Governor, I was going through the city's policy, or its draft policy, what it intends for the cut to vote on, I believe, August 1st or next week sometime. In there's no update or changes to emergency notification procedures, that sort of deal. I can understand how that wouldn't be housed under the same policy, but do you think it's important for city schools to be updating that policy as well alongside of this, especially given the situation like happened at Brandeis last year?
No, certainly with respect to the individual policies put forth by the school districts, they're all going to be evaluated and have to be approved by the state. So I will leave it to the State Education Department and our team to evaluate that and see if there's any shortcomings along the lines that you're speaking about.
You think they should be, though, outside of whether it meets the...
Well, this is a cell phone policy. Obviously, every school should have a robust emergency policy. Any comments on that? I mean, that's, of course they should.
Yeah, I would also add, while you may not see changes directly in policies, what we're seeing in many districts across the state are things like adding additional landlines so that parents can call in and reach their children. We heard another district was increasing their ability to do translation when parents who do not speak English as their first language call into a school district. So things may not be written in the specific policy, but districts are most definitely making changes to improve access for parents to the schools.
No, they're all required to have access for parents. Landlines or some other way. Students can actually, in some school districts, email their parents, go to the office if there's an emergency. Are you talking about an emergency at home? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
About an emergency in the school. Say there's a situation happening, a lockdown, for example. Okay. And a parent wants to know what's going on with their kid, obviously can't reach them because their phone's away or in touch or whatever. Okay. And given what happened at Brandeis, kind of that similar situation to Brandeis last year.
Parents need to know, absolutely.
Right.
Need to know.
Right.
No, that is something that should be addressed and how there's a communication for out to parents. And I certainly a blast text to all the parents would be the most immediate, I'm sure.
Great. Any other on topics? Go ahead, Kathleen.
All the kids have Chromebooks now in school, basically. And definitely lots of kids have learned how to use those Chromebooks to communicate with each other in the same way that they are also using their cell phones for. How do you think that's going to work with this?
They cannot have a smart device. Okay. That includes a laptop that is not under the instruction of a teacher. There's a lot of classes where teachers will want to use a Chromebook, for example, as part of the instruction. We have technology classes. We expect that. That's not going to change. But it's then put away and not in the child's hand, the student's hand throughout the day. Is there anything else on that?
I'll just add, as a parent with 2 middle schoolers with Chromebooks at my house right now, the Chromebooks are locked down in the sense that kids cannot have access to social media apps, certain YouTube channels. They are protected with safeguards to make sure that the things that kids are accessing on school-issued technology are protected.
Jeff, you had non-topic?
Yeah, you mentioned, I think, in the other room that there are potentially some stragglers here in the last few days. Are there any specific issues that districts have come to you with in coming up with their policies and implementing them?
No, there's model policies that are out there. I was in New York City with the school chancellor just a few days ago, did a roundtable similar to this to talk about what is happening, how they're preparing to be ready for this big day in September. I was out on Long Island. I went through one of their meetings where they signed off on their proposal just a couple of days before. So I've been watching this closely, and nothing has surfaced to me as some districts saying, this is impossible for us, because it's not that difficult. We gave you a model policy, and we really know that it's going to work. One thing I would add, I encourage all the parents to start having conversations with their children this summer. This is going to be like breaking an addiction. They're used to having it with them. It's part of their security blanket. And it's someone who's addicted to cigarettes. All of a sudden you take them away that day. It's hard. So we need to start working with the parents now to help develop strategies for them to wean their children before the end of summer from this. Just like as a mom, I didn't let my kids stay out till 10 o'clock on a school night, but in the summer I didn't care. But you start getting to bed earlier, little bit by little, so it's not a shock to the system. And I think parents can be doing a lot to help their kids prepare. And again, modeling good behavior at home. Put down the phone. Show your kids they're the number one priority in your life, not that cell phone.
Great. Any last on topic?
It's education related.
On topic, education related?
I mean, everything can be on topic the way I phrased the question.
Do you want to wait for on topic?
So, Governor,
Is this more of an off topic then? Well, is it on cell phone ban? Yes or no?
Really?
Okay. It's off topic. All right.
We'll excuse the NYSUT program.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead, Joanne.
So, you and I both attended New York's fabulous public schools in the last century, and I assume you got a Regents diploma, like I did, taking all those exams in the hot, sweaty gym, right?
Someone stole the Regents exam for chemistry. I never had to take the chemistry Regents. Just want to say that.
That's great. That was my worst one, I believe. But should kids still have to take those exams to get a Regents diploma? Because I remember when I went to college, it was a marker. It's like, this is a clear standard as opposed to the local diplomas.
I always want to make sure that New York's education system is known for its excellence, not to have a system where people just get by and they get out. And I'm going to continue working within the, unfortunately, limitations of my power. Because as you know, the state of New York, the governor's office does not determine education policy. I often read about what has been decided in the newspaper, thanks to the excellent reporting of all of you. And that's a source of frustration for me, to be honest with you. There have been areas where I've been able to identify problems. For example, for 20 years, our schools in New York were teaching phonics the wrong way, based on, I think it was a Columbia University professor had a policy that was wildly adopted as the new way to do it, let the kids figure it out, while teachers knew it was not the right way. And we lost a generation because of that, making it harder for them to learn. And so once I became aware of this, I changed it. And now the state of New York, the teachers are happy, parents are happy, kids will be smarter, have a different policy when it comes, because I said, we're no longer going to base our system on outdated information. I only highlight that as an example, as well as this one. Certainly, a cell phone ban could have come from state education department, but there was resistance to this, whereas then I have to step up and lead and say, I'm putting our kids first, and this is how it's going to be. So someday, some governor may have different authority to be able to make those decisions. I wish it happened while I was still governor. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But that's something I don't think is appropriate, that I don't have the say over those policies. I've said this before.
Well, you've got now 2 grandchildren. Congratulations. Tests, standardized tests for a clear standard?
I would hope they would be challenged and have a testing system, yes.
Great. Nick, go ahead.
Governor, has there been any further conversation or discussion with the legislative leaders about the $750 million that needs to be made up this calendar year, or this fiscal year, excuse me?
Until March 31st, yeah.
And in addition, any discussion about a special session, or do you believe that you can fill this gap under your own purview?
No, listen, we're dealing with the reality that's been thrust upon us because of Republicans in Washington who don't give a damn about the people who sent them to office. Can I be more direct? And they're literally taking health care away from needy families and children. Half of all children in the state of New York are on Medicaid for their health care, 1/3 of all New Yorkers. The tens of thousands of people who lose SNAP benefits, which is the lifeline for them to get food on the table every day and feed their families. So they did this to us. It's a huge hit to our system, and we'll adapt. We'll figure it out. We are. I actually have a sort of an internal SWAT team that I'll be announcing more about shortly, but a team of people that are going through system by system and how we can figure out ways we can manage our government despite these shortfalls. And so I don't rule anything out with respect to what we'll do in the future. The conversations have been strong and important between the leaders and my team about how we'll manage this. I have enormous confidence in Blake Washington, who will help us resolve this, and we will have to comply with this by March 31st.
Is this SWAT team going to be like the Division of Budget, or is it going to be like interdepartmental?
I will have a lot of people involved in this. This has to be a whole of government approach, and I'm looking at new ways, and we have been. I actually, before these cuts, created an office related to efficiencies and finding savings in government prior to all this happening. So I'm just going to be ramping that up even more so with this new challenge that lies before us.
Great, we have time for one more off topic. Good. All right, thanks.
All right, thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Send the rebate checks, ma'am.
I will note that I had first requested a $3 billion rebate check to go out, seeing the headwinds after the November election, but not quite sure how it would manifest itself. We cut that by $1 billion. And I will say this, at a time when not only are prices going up because of inflation, but now because of tariffs, and parents will pay 42% more for their children's sneakers when they're buying them for September because of tariffs. I think now more than ever, families across New York will appreciate what I did in standing up for them and putting money back in their pockets. So yes, they're going out.